Hi, everybody. Welcome to Journey to the Parliament, our journey to the great Parliament of 2023, August 14th through 18th, the ninth convening of the World's Parliament of Religion. As you know, this is a big part for me. We're returning back to my hometown. And today we're going to be talking to a good friend of mine. He's often known very lightly as River Higginbotham. We know him as an author, St. Louis Picnics, a lot of friends. And a small fact, he has the most single largest number of interviews on Magic TV. But he has a lot more to say. And so, River, please would you introduce yourself more in a formal manner so that people know what that academic moment.
I'll be glad to, Ed. Thank you. And thanks for inviting me to participate in this Journey to Parliament series. River Higginbotham, St. Louis, Missouri. I'm officially Reverend River Higginbotham of the Circle Sanctuary community. As I have authored, along with my wife, 3 books on paganism, one of which remains popular and in print, Paganism: An Introduction to Earth-Centered Religions. In St. Louis, Missouri, I've been very involved with an event we have known as St. Louis Pagan Picnic, which is a gathering of about 4,000 people in a public park once a year. And we're in our 30th year of putting on that event as a grassroots organization. And I've attended Parliament since 2009 in Melbourne, Australia. And for that Parliament, I was an ambassador for the Parliament in that year. And I have greatly enjoyed the various parliamentary experiences, friends made, experiences had. And I look forward to continuing to be part of that and bringing the pagan community's presence into Parliament, I think, is important. That's why I've chosen to be part of it. And now I'm with my affiliation with Circle Sanctuary. I'm been part of the Circle Sanctuary delegation to Parliament, each of the last several ones, and certainly appreciate the contributions Selena Fox and Circle have also given toward the parliamentary movement.
And it's fantastic how there's been this sort of community. I'm always very excited about it. But you talked about being an ambassador in 2009. That's a pretty rare distinction. Can you explain that a little bit to people, if you don't mind?
Sure. Part of the outreach activity that the Parliament has engaged in the past is to have designated some individuals as ambassadors for the Parliament. That involved a little bit of messaging and training and information about the Parliament itself. And I think the interest was to have individuals from multiple different religions be emissaries for the Parliament, talking about the existence of the Parliament, the interest of the Parliament, offering people the opportunity to become more involved or support the Parliament or attend the Parliament. So in 2009, which was my first opportunity to attend Parliament, one of the people who've been part of the ambassador movement, involved in the ambassador program of Parliament of the World's Religions for a long time, Jerry Hildebrand, was not able to attend Parliament, and at least for the purposes of that one, helped connect me to the ambassador program, and I served as an ambassador for Parliament prior to and during the 2009 Parliament itself in Melbourne, Australia.
That was a powerful one. That was a very powerful event. Got over my fear of heights. I forever eliminated it. All glass buildings will do that, but it is a true statement. So one of the things I think that I remember most about the 2009 is just besides all that glass, but is that the idea of it was very much of the kind of the world's face kind of just coming to a kind of an agreement to just that they have a right of coexistence. It was very thing because we had at that one, those people don't realize had a lot of security around it. It was the first Parliament with like a lot of security, and it did have that aspect to it. But you were there as an ambassador, and you were very cheerful. So you weren't an ambassador for pagans; you were ambassador to pagans and to everybody else, and that's a very important distinction. And I think that's if we thank you for your service. So beyond that, So what are some of your favorite memories of Parliament? Because you've been attending since then, and
The Parliament in Australia, 2009, was particularly memorable,
hmm
and my prior experiences through work had taken me to visit Australia on a number of occasions, in particular to the city of Melbourne. So I came into Parliament very familiar with the city that that now was hosting the Parliament in December of '09. And as part of that, I love Melbourne, Australia, and Australia generally. It's
hmm
a great place to visit. Um, and part of what I took some joy in was to be able to be a uh, a tourist and tour guide for my pagan friends from the US who were coming to Australia for the first time. And I had, by visiting Australia as many times as I had, I already had a cadre of friends who were pagan in Australia and had
hmm
attended some pagan festivals in Australia prior
hmm
to '09 Parliament. And so it was just kind of a coming together of really interesting threads for me. My friend Gavin Andrew and his wife Minka
hmm
uh, put me up in their home for a few days, along with Shell Scow, who is another circle minister. We visited with Gavin and Minka for a few days prior to the Parliament itself starting. They live in a beautiful, a small but beautifully
hmm
situated house in Mount Dandenong, which is just a little bit east of downtown Melbourne,
hmm
about 45 minutes away. You're up on a rainforest mountain. It's amazing. And also, as part of the Parliament, a number of delegates from the U.S. Who were pagan connected with a number of delegates to the Parliament who were Australian. We popularized, through my network of Australian friends, popularized, hey, this important interfaith event is occurring.
hmm
Pagans, please show up with with your bells on, and to participate and to meet and to it was fun that we met the Australian community and the pagan community and the North American pagan community kind of intersected, and we made friendships there in '09 that have persisted to this day. I also got a chance to work with and several of the prominent pagans who are part of Parliament to this day, like Phyllis Carrot and
hmm
former trustee Angie Buchanan.
hmm
Uh, One of the trustees of the Parliament who's pagan is Andres Arthen, and I had heard of Andres for many years prior to that. I met him on the flight to Melbourne. He and his family and I were on the same flight going over the Pacific. So for me, there was a great social tingly coolness about Parliament of '09, and I rented a car, and I drove a lot, and so I was kind of a part of the transportation system for my circle of friends, and in fact, we did a little vacationing before and after. The Parliament itself was
hmm
mind-blowing and fun. I think the highlight for me was there were 7 spiral dances in the 7 days of Parliament, uh,
hmm
that led by various different pagan folks decided to do spiral dances. Thorncoil did a workshop, had a spiral dance.
hmm
Dances of Universal, no, the Peace Project had Let There Be Peace on Earth, and they had peace poles that they put all over. They had a beautiful ceremony that really also included a spiral dance. Uh, there were several other like there was a parliaments will have opportunities for local communities in the host city of a particular religion to get together and have a service or a gathering specific to the tradition, specific to the faith. So the pagan gathering was sponsored by a local Melbourne group of reclaiming folks, and it was in a gymnasium of a small Catholic school, and there were performances by Wendy Rule, and it was the first time I'd ever met Wendy Rule.
I remember that.
And then a ritual was had, and that included stories and sharing and a spiral dance, like you do. Anyway, so there was really just a wide range of cool things that happened. My one of the highlights for '09 was that my sister, whose name is Julie, is an artist, and she created some ceramic shakers. And she was inspired by some of the information about the Parliament. And she made a shaker specifically for the Parliament in Australia, with symbolism from the Aboriginal peoples, telling some of the story, connecting us with the dream time, and she created several of these shakers, and then we had rituals in St. Louis and our region to kind of imbue them with some positive energy, and I was the emissary carrying the shakers to Parliament, and we ended up gifting them to several individuals that we thought were significant. One of which was gifted to the Dalai Lama, which was remarkable. Not every gift that's offered to the Dalai Lama is accepted. So I was honored that this particular gift was something that His Holiness received, and that was cool. Also, we gave a shaker to one of the native elders who kind of represented the lands in and around Melbourne, where we were hosted, and who gave the welcome to country message to all the delegates to the Parliament. That was Auntie Joy Murphy, I believe is her name.
It was.
And there was another elder from native Aboriginal peoples in Australia who got one of the shakers, and the fourth one went to Robert. I can't think of his last name. He's a chief leader of the Voodoo community from Benin, and I cannot remember his last name at this moment. But at the end of one of his presentations at Parliament, we made a small ceremony of gifting the shaker to him, and he was there in part because of some of the efforts of Angie Buchanan and other American pagans to help bring people to Parliament who were pagan, but not necessarily not of Europe, and not of from the lesser wealthy and lesser known religions of the world. Several from Africa who were it added depth to Parliament's the depth and breadth of participation to have Robert be part of that, be part of the gathering. And just the whole spirit of bring people coming together from across the entire globe to talk together, to listen to each other, to begin some steps of mutual understanding. I think one of the earlier luminaries of the Parliament itself basically has said that there will not be peace among peoples until there's peace among religions, and peace among religions starts with communication and dialogue and connection among people with different religious faiths. And to me, being open to and supporting the ethic and the value of accepting that other people have other ways of believing, and that's okay. In fact, it's normal. And the best thing we can do about that is promote each religion's opportunity to exist and pursue their tradition, as their heart and spirit guides them, and to do so in peace, and to do so with respect, And that's a large part of what the Parliament attempts to do. And it also forges some bridges between different religious groups, not only that improves understanding, but which allows common issues to be addressed by religious communities in different parts of the world, or with different worldviews. So coming together and beginning a dialogue and listening and learning from each other is a great first step toward beginning to work to solve humanity's problems together. And I think that's a highlight, the getting that clearly transmitted to me and in the Parliament at Melbourne in 2009 was an important realization, important opening of my eyes, and it kind of helped cement for me my enthusiasm for Parliament of the world's religions in general. And that's why I went on to also attend Parliament in 2015 in Salt Lake City, and in 2018 in Toronto, and I was participated virtually when we could during the pandemic, and that's why I'm going to be going to Chicago in 2023.
It is a big, important thing. So you really gave a good explanation of why people should attend. So if you had to point out, we talk a lot about, people mentioned transformational experiences. And 2009, you just beautifully laid it out. So thank you. But is there anything that you say that you've carried back into your life from the Parliament that is actually significant to you, that you brought something back from there that you put into practice in your everyday life?
Part of the experience of being an ambassador to the Parliament in 2009 was my friend Jerry Hildebrandt. Also, since she wasn't able to go, she had previously been part of something called the Listening Project.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know about it, but I learned about it, and then I participated with them. And so the Listening Project is a group of people who promote deep listening as a practice, and as a practice to help build connection. And by learning about the Listening Project, learning what the approach that we should take at Parliament to help foster deeper conversations, helped teach me the power of deep listening. And I've certainly taken that as a lesson learned, and an experience that was meaningful for me from a Parliament, and I've applied that to the rest of my world and social interactions. Being a human, being in community,
Mm-hmm.
getting along, it's incredibly complicated and usually often hard.
Mm-hmm.
And there are more challenges and hard edges than ever before in the present day. So being open to listen with a generous spirit to people who aren't like you, or who don't believe the same things you believe, or even if they are like you but believe something very different. Being able to listen is the first step toward getting along better in the world, and we need a lot more of that. And my experience with the Listening Project was pretty a good lesson learned, and enduring bit of wisdom that I carry with me from that Parliament. One more anecdote to it: there was a gathering in a pub just before Parliament for those who were attending as part of the Listening Project, and everyone was asked to introduce themselves and say their name, where they were from, what their religious affiliation was, and why they were interested in being part of the Listening Project at Parliament. And everyone did, and it was impressive to learn all the different people who were there. It was a room full of 60 people probably. Mm-hmm. And I did my introduction, and I thought that was pretty cool. One person came up to me afterwards and particularly thanked me, and this kind of blew my mind, that they thanked me for being there and doing that and saying I was pagan, because they didn't have any idea what a pagan was. In fact, they had very, very different and overarchingly negative ideas about what a pagan might be, but to see, a pagan, me, representing myself, reasonably, professionally, compassionately in something as fundamentally useful and altruistic as the listening project.
Yeah.
It shifted something in them, and so that's a reminder that no matter what circumstances we find ourselves in, we are always representing whatever community badge we wear or have affiliations with. So the impact of being pagan and being operating in the world in the best ways possible, that was another key lesson on top of the listening lesson itself.
So absolutely, and I think you're a fine representation of pagan malehood out there. I think you are a good role model out there. I think people, I do talk about that. I think you've really kind of embraced, being a good person first and foremost, and doing that. So you're working with Circle. I haven't really mentioned much, but it must be very different. And this is in St. Louis, being so close to your hometowns, your home centers of working. I mean, Chicago is everybody's back, Circles, my own, yours. It's like in your backyard. For me, it's right there at my front step because it's my hometown. But it is
Right.
but that. So how's that working? I mean, for this next one coming up.
I haven't given it an enormous amount of thought. It makes it like silly easy to travel there. A 5-hour ride in a car versus 15-hour jet. Like the logistics are just so much better coming up for 2023. One thing I did was, as soon as Parliament was open for registration, I registered very early. The hotel block opened up. I got myself a room there, and the reason for that is my prior experiences with Parliament. It's though housing accommodations are not cheap anywhere when you're in a city, and whenever you're going to do something like the Parliament, it's a very intense convention style activity. It's so much. There's so much to be gained by just being near the heart of it all, so that you can get up in the morning, go to early morning things without a lot of commute, and it'll just it deepens the experience that one can have if you're going to be a delegate. So if you're going to come from wherever, and you're going to be in Chicago, and you're going to go to the Parliament in 23, I highly recommend trying to stay in the hotel that's adjacent to or a part of the convention complex.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be now. Actually, it's very interesting. We're doing a very similar strategy for the Karelian tradition, and the same thing. We like to live together, so we're grabbing the closest A&Rbs within like a couple of blocks. So yeah, being close is really, the closer you can be, the better off you are. I agree with you 100%. So and all that's good. So a lot of people are going out there. Is there anything that you're expecting for yourself on this one? Are you going to try putting presentations out there? Are you doing any special duties? Or are you just going to go there as the magnificent river that you are?
My agendas for Parliament of 23 include that I'm going to put forward a couple of, or at least one, programming proposals. A lot of the work that I do within Circle has two major dimensions. One is training for ministry, people who are aspiring to become part of our the clergy of Circle Sanctuary. So ministry training is probably where I spend 90% of my energy, helping support what Circle Sanctuary is doing. And then at the Pagan Spirit Gathering, which is Circle's largest festival, 400 to 800 people recently in that ballpark would attend it. I would like to see it. I'd like to see PSG prosper further and gain back some even more attendees. I think we were like closer to 1,000. And that's a week-long event in the summer, in the woods, someplace in the Midwest. These days, it'll be in Missouri, in the Ozarks, and at those festivals, one of the things I do is I help sing. So myself and several others do a little chant share circle that we call enchantment, and it's an opportunity for people to sing together, breathe together, connect together. It's a ritual of connecting with voice,
It's
and
fun.
it's very the people who attend it create the experience for themselves and for the others. It's not a performance, it's a participation. So it's really a ritual. So at Parliament, I'm going to propose to do that sort of thing with my partner in is Jasmine, who's another part of the Circle delegation. She and I attended Parliament in 2018 together. It was the first time she attended Parliament. Found it fascinating and delightful. I knew she would. So together we're going to offer to facilitate an enchantment sharing session ritual at Parliament. Another thing I may do, my wife is Joyce, and she has done something that we have through the years called pagan Gregorian chants.
Yes. Oh my.
If you're familiar with the Catholic prayer form of a Gregorian chant, psalms sung to particular tunes. The Benedictine order particularly uses this prayer form, this form of devotion and sharing. So we do an interfaith variation on it, and we call it pagan Gregorian chants, but you could just as well call it interfaith meditations with reflective readings from multiple traditions to start your day in an inspiring and interfaith way. So we're going to write that up.
I've indicated to people who to be talking that this is a place where you don't hold back when you make your presentations, because they do get a lot of presentations offered to them, and they actively hunt for them. And that's the one thing I like. They do actively hunt, but I would love to see that. That would be so cool. And of course, just seeing everybody around there, of course, is a lot of fun. So we know what it is and everything else. So anything last thoughts? I mean, it's still a long term away for a lot of people. For some people go, it's like months away. We're under a year though, and we're doing these shows to kind of just familiarize.
Yeah, it's it's tough. It's not a cheap thing. It's an expensive activity for my friends and fellow pagans in the U.S. It's going to be easier to get to Chicago than wherever it will be afterwards. I fully expect Parliament after 2023 to be. I would expect it to be overseas someplace again.
I wouldn't doubt India. New Delhi, or at the Great Temple in on what? I wouldn't be surprised to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see India next.
Yeah, wouldn't be a shock.
Yeah, or it's been so many great places. It's been since it began. We were talking about Australia. It's been in Barcelona. It was in Melbourne, and then it was in Salt Lake City, and then Toronto.
Also the first one, the
first one I ever did. Yeah,
the one in 1993 was actually Chicago, and then there was one in Cape Town, South Africa.
And that was that. You talk about miserable flights. Yeah. So that sort of thing. So it's been quite the journey, and I think that we're seeing this continue. So I'm so grateful for this. We'll touch back with you later on, but this has been River Higginbotham. And where can they find you? Because you're an author, you're a writer. They wanted to find out more ahead of time.
I have neglected my writing website, so that's really doesn't work well.
It happens.
So I'm open to people contacting me directly. You can I recommend go to the Circle Sanctuary .org website. Look up ministers there, and then there's a list of ministers by states. So I'm listed, and if you wanted to reach out to me on email, just ping me there, and send an email, and then I can write you back, and we can have a conversation about anything you might like to talk about, hear about. If you're interested in Circle Sanctuary further, the website's full of information. I do recommend kind of pay attention to a little bit of what Circle's doing. It's a Wiccan, pagan, shamanistic, many paths sort of organization.
So Circle is a very representative group, and it really helps not just with clergy training, which he does, but it prepares our clergy and other individuals for real world situations that they've dealt with. So Circle is really good. If you really want to be in the real world of making change in the terms of representation, law, being in there where, when somebody says, you can't do that, really having know what that means and being able to talk about it. Circle ministers, if you hear a Circle minister say it, it's gold, because they understand that sort of thing. And that's really important. So it's really the gold standard for me of being a representative clergy, to being that sort of interfaith clergy. I mean, there are a lot of people who can do great for inside, but they're great for being out there into that sort of serious, everyday, oh my God, we're being discriminated against. Oh, we have a problem. Oh, we have this wonderful marriage we want to do. We have this great big Wiccan you want to do, good and bad. They're there to give you real answers on how to do that.
And Circle has been doing that for years. They have a great deal of care for pagans of all stripes. Any pagans and any persons are welcome at Circle events or Pagan Spirit Gathering, or to become a member of Circle. You just kind of have to jive with the rather open embrace of people who have different beliefs and behave well together.
Yeah.
Selena Fox is our senior minister, and it's really Selena's creation. She's been leading the creation of Circle for years, and I applaud her work, and I strongly support the things that Circle is and has become. And I'm really proud to be a minister of Circle Sanctuary, and particularly helping people form into new ministers of Circle Sanctuary as well.
I'm grateful for the work. I mean, I have seen it and watched and participated when necessary. Not a member, but I've always been a friend of Circles. I've always considered myself always a friend of Circles because they do so much great work. So we're going to see more of this. We'll see if we can talk to Selena, and we'll be touching back. But this has been Journey to the Parliament, episode 11, another successful broadcast finished, and we'll be back with more. You'll never know who we're going to talk to, but you're going to find out they had transformative experiences. Consider coming to the Parliament of 2023. Blessed be, folks.